All right, we are live. So, Bucky, get your headphones in and tell us about the show.
Awesome. My name is Bucky Beeman. I'm a commercial real estate agent. Hopefully that echo's not too bad. In Rochester, Minnesota, home of the Mayo Clinic. I'm getting an echo here, so sorry if I start going slow. And I'm at Dallas. Gosh, when did I meet Dallas? A few years ago. Dallas is a forward-thinking individual. I noticed him first on Facebook when he was trying to slang T-shirts in Rochester, Minnesota. He was selling T-shirts on Facebook in Rochester, and he started getting a big following. And that's how I met Dallas. And from that meeting of Dallas, it's led to continued conversations, which we are now bringing live. And we think we can meet with a lot of cool people that think similar to the way we do. So that's me.
Okay, and I am Dallas McLaughlin, digital marketing at the James Agency in Scottsdale. My headphones don't fit very well, but we're going to work this out. Yeah, I do digital stuff, email, pay-per-click, SEO, digital strategy, all of that, and that's about it. But just for anybody listening, we are on iTunes now, which is cool, Google Play. I think TuneIn's coming pretty soon. And of course YouTube, so you can listen to us anywhere that's convenient for you. Okay, Keller, your turn. Go. Who are you?
I'm Keller Perry. I do PR, also at the James Agency in Scottsdale, Arizona, and brand new to this conversation. Dallas wanted to bring me in to help spur things on, so here we go.
Yeah, Keller came to me the other day, because we have an internal transition going on with social media, and he's like, hey, in the meantime, I want to learn some social media stuff, so I want to talk to you. I said, that's a good idea, but let's do it on the show. That'll be way cooler. And then we can ask him about PR too, because neither of us really get it, so he'll tell us.
I don't know if I get it either, so let's see what you think.
That's not the very PR thing to say. But okay, Bucky, you start us off. You ask him some questions.
Well, first things first, I think, Keller, it's good to have you on the show because your voice, I believe, sounds better than all of us. So if anybody's listening to this, we're going to try to have it where you talk more. So my story, commercial real estate agent in Rochester, a small community, 120,000 people. I built my business thanks to the internet. It's led to me being a part of a wonderful real estate firm, becoming a player in a sales business that mainly was ran by older gentlemen in our little neck of the woods. And I'm kind of the young guy coming up, and the knowledge that I've been able to learn thanks to the internet, I'm able to share with my team. My team is now helping me more than ever, and we're just building something awesome here in Rochester. We see what's going on in bigger markets, but we don't quite understand necessarily how to wrap our heads around it. And PR is something we don't talk about. Like, I don't even know like public relations. I don't even know the definition. I can't even tell you how we could really incorporate it into our small real estate firm. So I'm going to start very simple of saying, all right, we're a commercial real estate firm, whether it's commercial real estate or anybody in small business, how can they start using PR in their business, and what does that even mean?
PR in most basic terms is connecting with the community. So making a connection between your brand and the community, and building trust with between those two. So how you can do it is the most basic and the easiest way right now is social media. But one good way, I think, with commercial real estate would be expert positioning yourself as an expert in the community and as a professional. And just like your social media, you want to find ways that you can actually be helpful to your audience. Same thing with PR. If it's an editorial piece, you want to find a way where you can say, here are the 5 tips to, if you're in residential real estate, 5 tips for a first-time home buyer. And then at the end, you say, this is who I am, and this is the brokerage I work for. And so it's building trust with you and your brand to the people that see you. So if you see an ad in a magazine, you know it's an ad, and you move on. But if you see a story, you're going to read it, and you're going to remember that person's name because it was helpful to you. So that's kind of the difference between PR. We secure stories more so than ads.
Okay.
Yeah.
In ways that I think we've been doing it as far as our firm and myself, we personally haven't been sending out any pieces of press releases, but I see a I actually just was mentioned in a press release related to a construction project, and the contracting company had sent it out. So we should start doing press releases. That's one way. And then we also are trying to be relevant in the conversations happening in our community related to economic development, growth of our city, businesses moving, things changing. And because we're a part of that conversation, whether it's congratulations for the business that moved, or big news, someone moved, or it's great to see our Rochester area changing into this community that's vibrant and has a lot of life like it hadn't necessarily had in the past, that I don't want to say it hasn't had, but it's definitely getting better. So that's ways that I think we're doing PR, not even knowing that we are. What are some other examples of things that we could do in order to kind of make PR a part of our company, a part of our strategy?
Well, I mean, those are actually all great. Those are fantastic ways of doing it. And then, other ways would be big sales. Making people always want to know when a big sale happens, or when some kind of up-and-coming project is coming, because that means more jobs are going to come into that area, and people who are looking for jobs are going to be interested. Any way that you can tie if you have something happening that's newsworthy, tie it and use it across all platforms and mediums. So you say you get something in a news story, use it in your social media, use it in a newsletter. You want to tie all the news across all mediums that you have. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And I think what's really coming over me, I'm a big believer in everything Gary Vaynerchuk talks about, and
Sure.
I watch his stuff religiously. And he said you got to be a media company. And my questions that I asked you, and I start to learn this, is like, we do need to be a media company. It needs to be a major component to our business, because if it becomes a major component to our business, we will grow exponentially thanks to those actions that we're taking. So like you're taking at the James Agency for other companies, we need to start doing that strategically on a micro level. And I've mentioned this to Dallas before. We hope to someday to get to a level to hire a firm like the James Agency. We're just not at that level yet. But it starts with actually trying to do it, and you can now with the internet. So that's awesome. How do you quantify the value of it? Like, I know I feel it's working. That's my way of quantifying right now. Like, I can walk down First Avenue in Rochester and see some people, and they follow me on Twitter, and I know they've retweeted my stuff, and they wave, right? So it's like, I know that they see the actions our firm is taking online. But is there other ways you can help a small business in advice of measuring the success? Other than retweets?
That's the age-old PR question, because it's just getting harder and harder to do. Back in the old days, it was Nielsen ratings, and then it was circulation and readership. But even now, we're starting to throw that out. We're using impressions a lot more now, because everything's going online and social media. So measuring the success of your PR, that's very difficult. It's all about community awareness of your brand. How do you measure that? Besides, I guess, doing a lot of research, asking people if you've heard of your brand. Beyond that, it's just continuing and plugging away and trusting the process.
And now it's flipping it, like yourself at the James Agency. How do you show value to your customers? So you have customers you're working for. How are you showing them? Is it's trusting in you, but what else are you showing them? Well,
so if we secure some kind of news story, then we make sure that we monitor all those news stories and we compile them into a list. Send them to them every week. We also, if they're online news stories, we are able to get the numbers of people who visit those sites, and we send those to them and say this is a rough number of the impressions you're going to get. And then also, depending on TV is a really big one, because even though more and more people are consuming their news from online, TV still seems to bring in a lot of customers for a couple of our clients specifically, especially if we have like a deal of the day kind of a news segment. So it's just a matter of us telling them this is how many we're getting and watching their numbers grow, and it's working with our clients to see like if when we do this story, do their numbers spike, and it's a lot of working together, and but it is difficult.
Cool. I think it's neat now. All these apps, Instagram now came up with the ability to hook it with your Facebook page, your business page, and you can see the analytics of your Instagram. So I don't dive into the analytics. I hope to at some point to get some time to do so, or set time aside, I should say, to do so. But I feel like with a lot of small businesses, it kind of comes down to in the beginning just feeling it. Like you can just feel it related to people commenting on your story when you never got a comment before, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram or any of it. So you can see it's kind of working. And then it's a matter of turning it on to take it to the next level, and there's the ability to figure that out. That's cool.
Sure. I know.
I'll jump in here quick, Keller. So one of the great things for me as the digital guy here at the office, and how I would imagine other agencies are merging these two, when we have a whole rollout of a new brand, for example, PR has what's called a critical path. On certain dates, certain weeks of certain months, they have a press release that's coming out on a date. So they will give that to me, and I'll say, okay, if on that date you're announcing this thing, I need to have all the digital pieces that also announce those things. So it's kind of pairing. Instead of keeping pay-per-click and PR and SEO and social media all in their silos, we're all on the same page, which in this case would be dictated by PR. So on the same day, we're all talking about the same thing. It just allows us to reach into different markets that PR couldn't do alone or digital couldn't do alone. So PR helps around here a lot to kind of set the pace for everybody else.
And just to confirm, is PR different than creative? Meaning within an agency, you have the creative side that's creating what it looks like on all the different platforms, mediums, as I think you'd call them. PR is more chasing making sure you get the story out there.
Yeah, I would say that creative designs all the ads and the things that we put money behind to get out there. PR does a lot of the almost unpaid placements. So like Keller was saying, they'll reach out to the news stations, hey, we want to do an interview with you about this, or in our case, we're actively going to places like, hey, our client has this going on, you should tell a story about it, and because of their relationships with the journalists and the anchors and whoever, they'll say, yeah, we'll do a story. Keller works with them to make sure their appearance on TV goes well. They know what to say. They know how to present themselves. They really kind of manicure everybody behind the scenes.
So bringing it back to micro level, I can't hire an ad agency, but I'll show you how it's working. I'm active on Twitter. I shared a new business opening up. It was a selfie with me and the business owner. She was opening a business called Epic Endeavors Preschool. One of the news channels guys that I know fairly well picked it up. His name is Carson. Carson now has, and I think he works for Channel 6. He now has followed me on Snapchat, and like I'm producing content as a commercial agent. Today is my market update, which I still need to give some additional content on my Snapchat. But Carson will ask me, who is that? Where is that? What's happening there? And as I'm pushing to create content around what's happening in the market, the news outlets are reaching out to me, which I think that shows a way I'm doing PR and I'm not labeling it that. I'm just labeling it market update, having fun, trying to create some stuff. But in some fashion, it's PR, so it's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're actually touching on a really interesting part of PR, which is it's a relationship between you and the journalist, and you want to help them as much as they help you. So if you're just constantly asking them, hey, can you put my client on a story? Can you put my client on TV? Hey, help me. But you're not, helping that relationship back. You're not returning the favor. Then you're not going to grow the strong relationship that you should be. So a lot of the times, if you see something like what PR pros and what I'm striving to do is if you make those connections with the journalist, say, know what that person's beat is, know what they cover, and monitor news in the area, and see if you see something that that person's going to enjoy, you send it to them. Even if it has nothing to do with your client, but just know that you're helping them out. And then, when the conversation comes back to you, they're more likely to help you out.
That is so cool. And I had never heard that hit on. I'm sure some people have, but you can do that as a small business today with social media by reaching out to the people in your market. And if you're in a certain industry, like, you know what people cover your stuff because you just are in that industry, like, help them. And you can now with the internet so easy. You can tweet them, you can direct message it, you can find them. They're on the internet.
Right. That's exactly right.
So, Bucky, I remember, because we were doing the Rochester thing at the same time. I didn't know I was doing PR at the time, but an example of one of the things I did is, I don't know if you even remember this, but I remember the news showed up at my house to cover Cyber Monday. It would have been like 2013 or something. And everybody's like, wow, that's so cool, Dallas. Like, how'd you get that? And I'm like, I don't know. I just got a phone call, you know. They wanted to come do a story. But the truth is, behind the scenes, I was setting up fake Gmail accounts and emailing all the news anchors saying, hey, have you guys seen the Cyber Monday deal that this clothing company has going on? And then I was calling people, and I was like, I would say the name wrong. Like, I'd say, oh, this clothing company, I can't think of what their name is. It's something to do with Rochester. Have you seen anything? And then they'd be, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'd call somebody else. This was in the morning, and I'd say the same thing, but word it differently. And then I'm guessing sometime around lunchtime, they all got together like, man, I keep getting calls and emails about this. What's going on? Sure enough, about 3 o'clock rolls around, and I get an inbound call from the news station. And I'm like, oh, weird. Yeah, I do have a sale going on. I'm here all day. And they showed up with their news crew, and I was on TV looking like a complete mess in my basement. Whatever, you know, to help sales for that day.
Genius.
Yeah, genius. So my way is not so hacking. Not to say hacking isn't an approach. My way is to build a relationship to, like, Carson could call me up tonight and want to go and have a beer. Like, but the cool thing is there's definitely strategy to hacking. I mean, you say sales hacking, you see this all over the place. Is there any news? Is there any people that cover PR hacking? Like, does that actually exist? I'm sure.
Well, I don't think I'm the right person to ask for that. I have no idea.
There's the guy, man, I can't think of his name right now. He wrote the book, Trust Me, I'm Lying. He's a PR guy. He used to do PR for actually a lot of people, but one of his more famous ones is Tucker Max, the guy that had the movie and all the books, super controversial stuff. And he used to do the tricks where, he did a lot of them, but he did the one where he put up a bunch of billboards for Tucker Max's new movie, went through an ad agency, they placed all these billboards. Ryan Holiday's his name. So and then in the middle of the night, Ryan Holiday showed up to these billboards that they placed. He completely vandalized all these billboards himself, then took super sketchy, just cell phone pictures of them, sent them to all the local news stations, said, hey, everybody's vandalizing all these billboards. All the news stations, all the blogs, all the gossip sites covered that there's so much controversy and people protesting this movie. No one should go see it. But really, it was just him, and he was getting all these hits for his client, who was Tucker Max, by creating this fake controversy. He had another one where he actually took two CEOs of two major companies who were both his clients, put them into a very popular Los Angeles restaurant, had them stage an entire fight among themselves, so they both got thrown out. He leaked the story to the press. Hey, these two CEOs were just fighting in public and got thrown out. Now everybody's talking about these two CEOs. So yeah, it's technically bad press, but it doesn't matter. In a week from now, everybody's going to forget why they know these names. They're just going to know the names, and that's all that matters.
Interesting. So it's sales hacking or PR hacking may exist. We'll have to link up that Amazon book that I found on here. Trust Me, I'm Lying. Confessions of a Media Manipulator.
Yeah, that book it's scary when you read it, because he does it right in the book. He's like, for the sake of this book, I'm going to show you how you get a blog post on the front page of Huffington Post or whatever. And he literally in the book outlines how he wrote this fake story, talked to this person. I think he invented what's called trading up the chain, which I use a lot, where you tell a story to a small blogger. You go one step up the chain. Hey, this blog down below you is covering this story. All these guys are. You should cover it too. He keeps working his way up until all of a sudden Huffington Post has to cover it because everybody else is.
Interesting. All right, well, let's keep moving along. That was an awesome conversation. Really helped me understand that PR is very possible as a small business. So thank you for that.
All right, so Keller, what do you got for us? You got any questions for Bucky as the personal brand guy and me as the digital guy, even though I sit in the same office with you every day?
Yeah, maybe. So I know I was talking to a friend of mine who does social media out in Chicago, and I was just picking his brain too, and he mentioned something that like organic social media growth for businesses is pretty much dead.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So so what he's talking about is like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, if you had say 10,000 people who followed your business on Facebook and you made a post, roughly 30% of those people would see it in their newsfeed. There's an organic reach that's always being measured. Um, a couple years ago, it was knocked down to about 16% of those people would then see it, and now it's down to about 1 to 2%. So if you've got 10,000 people who follow your Facebook page and you post something, a 1% reach, that means only 10 people are going to see it on average. Or is it 100? It's 100. So 100 people will see it on average. So that's common, I would say. I mean, I remember when Google AdWords came out, everybody loved it because you could get clicks for a penny, and then all of a sudden it costs a lot of money to bid. Now it's $3, $4, up to 20 in some industries. But that's not necessarily because Facebook changed so much. It's just because so much competition showed up. You could get in somebody's newsfeed because they followed less people, they liked less things. There was much less competition for that newsfeed space. Once everybody showed up, it became. I mean, there's only so many stories a person can see in a single day. Competition for those stories went through the roof, and now nobody can get through to anybody.
So I think it goes back to Gary Vaynerchuk, and what he's shared is marketers ruin everything.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, anything that's working, all of a sudden everybody's going to show up and make it work for nobody. It's just a big traffic jam of everybody trying to do the same thing.
So
But that brings the value of, I mean, people are upset about it because you can pay to get in front of people, and that's what you have to do now. People are upset by that, but that's just the cycle of digital marketing. The good stuff, when it comes out, it's early, it's free, or it's cheap, and then it turns to a pay-to-play model.
So now I would push that a little bit and go back to some Gary Vaynerchuk teaching. I literally watch all of his stuff, but jumping on a medium that is fresh. And I met with a guy yesterday in Rochester, Minnesota, shared this story on my Snapchat with save my memory. And his name is Nathan Evan. He is a senior at the University of Minnesota. And I caught him because I got on Musical.ly because Gary Vaynerchuk said check it out. And there's a My City section. I clicked on it, and there was Nathan. Nathan's doing Musical.lys, and he's good at it. Lip syncing to songs, if you haven't seen what Musical.lys are. And he has 241,000 people that follow him on Musical.ly because he's good at lip syncing and adding certain things to his lip syncing. And that's all been grown organically because it's a new medium that marketers haven't hit that he is very good at. And I, being the thinker that I am, said, hey dude, when you're in Rochester next, can you meet at my dad's burger joint and can we do some Musical.lys? So yesterday we met and did 3 Musical.lys at Snappy Stop, which is a drive-through burger joint, and I'm going to share them across Facebook and on Twitter through Snappy Stop's brand. But that's where I would contradict that thought to say it can grow organically, but it has to be on a platform or it has to be distributed in a way that marketers haven't ruined yet, I would think. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are to that.
Yeah, I would say there's always first mover's advantage when something new like Musical.ly comes out. There's people just like myself right now, unfortunately, who are sitting there saying, well, let's wait and see if it works. I know that's the wrong strategy. Just right now I'm completely maxed out doing things like my actual job and then this and then everything else I have going on in life. I don't get the chance to go play with Musical.ly. But yeah, I would say for anybody who's trying to build an organic social media following, even if Musical.ly folds in 2 months because everybody leaves to go somewhere else, whatever that something else is, at least you figured out how to do it on Musical.ly and you can replicate that process on whatever's new.
And the cool thing I asked him on my Snapchat story, I said, what's the big picture? And he goes, well, let's see wherever the app takes me. Like, that's he doesn't know. He's just doing it because it's fun for him and he's actually getting a lot of followers. But where it could take him, as I said, maybe YouTube, maybe takes him to whatever platform we don't know right now called Zigzag or whatever. I mean, that you're right. It can then change into other platforms also.
Now, I don't have any experience with Musical.ly, and I know it's up and coming, but how many businesses are using it?
Hardly any.
Okay.
So that's an opportunity.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So
Right.
I remember when Vine came out, when Vine came out and that just exploded basically overnight, there was no businesses on it. And then Target and Lowe's and Home Depot, all these guys got involved, got in front of all of these people, and yeah, Vine ultimately folded and everybody went to YouTube and Facebook Live and all those things. But in that meantime, Target and Lowe's and all these guys served so many impressions to such an important audience that it doesn't matter. They got out of it what they needed to get out of it. Who cares if it folded? They won they were trying to win. So yeah, I guess that's the end of the conversation. What else, Keller? What do you got?
So Bucky, you go out to small businesses a lot and connect with them. How does that help you how does it help you in the commercial real estate biz?
Connecting with small businesses, how does it help me? I think it helps me recognize, so it's many ways, but one way, I guess what's come over me lately is to see everybody struggle in the small market with the internet. They are struggling big when it comes to social media still, even though it's been like the internet's now been around for a little while. Dallas was making money on Facebook, selling shirts several years ago, and there's still so many businesses that don't get it. And I think the small business interaction for me has led me to see some of their struggles and figure out how I can try to get over those struggles as a small business owner myself, as my family being in a small business, and I learn from them. And one of the things I learned from them is like the content creation is so super tough. Like they're running their business. It's kind of like accounting. Like I got to go run my business, open up my business. Oh, and by the way, I got to do this accounting thing. Like, dang it. And social media is kind of that same thing. It's like, dang it, I got to be actively creating content and sharing it, and I know it will help my business. I just don't seem to find the time. Content creation seems to be the struggle. So I learn from them. That interaction helps me learn that the same struggle they're having, I'm having, but how do I beat that struggle? So one way I'm beating content creation as the struggle is getting multiple people involved with the content creation. It can't all fall on one person's shoulders. So my father's burger, I can't get the young people that work there to post on our channels. They just don't feel confident enough. But I can get them to text me random pictures when they're there working. And so they text me random pictures, such as today I think I got a burger and it's Snappy Stop spelled out on a wrapper with a hot dog underneath it. Like super random stuff. But I'm getting content from them in that fashion right now due to seeing the struggles in other small businesses. Another thing I'm learning from small businesses is that the struggle's real. Like there's so many small businesses that it is not easy. There's no small business that's easy. And I think I've been in this game now since I graduated high school, 18, I'm 27, and the struggle doesn't get any easier. Like you get better at it, but it's still a real struggle. And all these small businesses that are out there trying to make it happen, like I just see it being a real struggle. It's tough. So I really try to collaborate with small businesses. Like I try to, as an individual real estate agent, I try to help bring attention to their business. I try to see what they can teach me so I can help them, they can help me. So collaboration is huge in the small business area, and I love to see the people that think the same way.
Yeah, it's funny. I'll jump in here to say that Bucky knows everything that's going on in that city, and that's so important. I lived there, and I didn't know anything. It wasn't on my radar. I went back there. It's probably been a couple years now, but I remember. I think you didn't pick me up at the airport, but I met you like I might have driven from the airport to like a parking lot, and you picked me up, and you're like, "Hey, you want to go see some stuff?" I was like, "Sure." And like we went and toured like a granite company. We went and toured like a prosthetic company. You're showing me like all these buildings that you're invested in, and I'm just like, holy shit! Like I didn't know any of this stuff like existed, and you've done it all like in 2 years, and it's crazy. You know everything that's going on. Like nothing can happen in that city without you knowing, and that's so valuable.
Mm-hmm. So, and then I find ways to collaborate with them. It's not like over here ruling and trying to no. It's like how can we all work together to better the community, to better one another's business, to this idea of Musically and having Nathan Evan, if it works on Snappy Stop, why can't he go down to the coffee shop and do the same thing? I just love working with the small businesses because it helps all of us. So,
have you seen any of those collaborations directly translate into a commercial real estate sale?
Yeah, I think the biggest, for sure, man. I think one of the things I'm very passionate about right now is there is so much unused commercial space, and it can be a commercial parking lot, it can be a commercial building, and I am finding ways to get small businesses, which small businesses are many things, artists. There's this lady that has what's called an occasional market. She does she gets a bunch of vendors together. They every Saturday, once a month, do a sale out in a parking lot with repurposed furniture, jewelry, all the cool stuff like that. And because I'm helping her find that simple space, which in her mind is a very complicated space to find, it makes me kind of the connector, which then one of those small businesses there that is selling jewelry ends up wanting another location, and I start recommending an area of town called the Design District, and that Design District is an area of small businesses that have come together to really say, hey, look, we're makers, we're creators, we're artists, why don't we all kind of be in the same space? And then I lease them a space, and next thing you know, they start in a small space and they're expanding to a bigger space. So like I can connect interacting collaborations with small business to business all day long. It's amazing how it works.
Very cool. So are you using Musical.ly right now?
Yes. Yes, I am on Musical.ly. I don't have anybody locally that follows me, except for maybe there's some young kids, because it's definitely a demo that is very young. But it's going to age up, I predict. And I hear this from Facebook. From Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm not going to say like I came up with this myself, but what he says I would agree with. And it's going to age up like Facebook, and I'll be in there already creating content and figuring out how I can have my father's business a part of it. So yes, I'm on it.
What I thought was interesting from what you were talking about a minute ago, actually, I've watched a little bit of Gary Vee, and one of the most valuable things I took from him recently was that he was talking to a young man, and he said, if you can't come up with content today, go out and let other people do it for you. And I thought that was very interesting, that's what you do with small businesses and small business owners, is like maybe you don't have the content right now, but you go out and you let them create the content, which in turn helps them.
Mm-hmm. And I think talking about content creation is one of the big struggles I see for small businesses. If we can find small businesses a way to collaborate in content creation, then that would help all of them with this struggle of actually being active online. So an example would be occasional market coming to this parking lot in front of my father's burger joint. It's going to help if we get more people there, because we'll hopefully sell more burgers. And so how is she going to be active on the Occasional Markets Facebook page that's going to mention we're not just in a parking lot on South Broadway, we're in a parking lot next to Snappy Stop, tag Snappy Stop. I then create something or just reshare her. So how can you collaborate in the content creation? And I think that can lead to a lot of dollars, it can lead to a lot of success, it can lead to overall a great relationship that leads even more activities. So I hope to see that more.
So I got a question for you, Bucky. So one thing that's big, at least, well, I mean, pretty much every large market that I don't see happening really in Rochester, southern Minnesota, is influencer marketing and influencer outreach and things like that. That's something that actually falls in PR's plate. That when we have a new client or a new business opens or a product launch or something, to kick those things off, we usually bring in bloggers. So we'll fly in somebody from somewhere, somebody who's a YouTube person or an Instagram person, to cover this and write a blog about it and review it, to reach out to all of their followers. So in southern Minnesota, it seems like you're almost that guy. So is there anybody else in the area, since now I've been gone from there for like 4 years, I don't really know what's going on there. Is there anybody like that that has just this massive audience of people that will do what they say? They'll buy the products that they support. They'll visit the businesses that they visit. Does that person exist there?
Southeast Minnesota, I would say no. I think the way that it exists is maybe in a niche that I'm not seeing, or it exists in somebody that's somewhat humorous and they're young and they've gathered the attention of high schoolers that then their friends have shared with other high schoolers, and that maybe has parlayed into a larger following. But I don't know. there's influencers. We're home with a Mayo Clinic. There's influencers in the medical community, but how can I relate that to small business? It's tough. Like there's a lady named Andrea Tooley, and I think, what is her YouTube video? Her YouTube channel has to do with going to med school and how she's sharing this process of becoming a doctor, and she has a lot of following because of that. I couldn't ask her to come to Snappy Stop, and like her followers would then want to come to Snappy Stop. So no, I don't see it.
Yeah, so that seems like an opportunity to me. But first, the first step of that is somebody has to build that huge audience. It's almost like I don't know where I've heard the analogy before. It's probably Gary Vaynerchuk or Seth Godin or one of those people, or Tim Ferriss. How they talk about how your social media following is like your savings account. When you build that savings account up, then you can start withdrawing from it. So it's almost like somebody needs to build that huge following and then figure out, okay, now that I've got all this attention, I have these people looking at me, how can I monetize me as a person? And that would be then going to your business and going to other businesses and selling yourself as a package.
Sweet. I love that. Like, so I think of me trying to become this, like doing Musical.ly's, how can I relate that to commercial real estate? Like if 75% of the people interested in commercial real estate looked at my Musical.ly's, they'd be like, this guy's a joke. Like, what the fudge is he doing? And like, he's lip syncing. But I would flip that and say, okay, I'm doing something that others aren't. And if I build up this following that leads to somehow being an influencer in a certain circle, how can I leverage that following personally for my business, right? And so a small business may be more prone to work with me as a commercial real estate agent if I say, and not that this is the only thing, but one thing, it's an added advantage. Hey, you're opening up a shake shop? Well, by the way, I got 5,000 people that follow me in this general area, and I think 3,000 of them might show up for your grand opening. So will you work with me to lease this shop? That's one added benefit. And that's the same thing, I guess it's what I'm doing already of having the relationship with Carson and other people that are in the media arena where it just, like, Trista is her name, awesome lady, opened Epic Endeavors, and she called me and was like, thank you so much for getting Carson here. And I'm like, what? I didn't even know I got him there. Well, you sent out a tweet, and like that, he saw that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, no problem. Like that's how maybe commercial real estate, you could leverage it. It's just an idea.
Keller, what is, I don't even know, and I work here. What is, when we go out to find these influencers, and you might not know either because I know that it's not on your plate, what kind of criteria, like how do we decide who we pull in?
Well, there's a lot of factors with it. I mean, and funny enough is that my girlfriend's also in PR, and she actually has experience with influencer relations. And so we talk about it sometimes, but they look at, these people have blogs or, a huge social media following. We look at their content, see if it matches up with what our brand is doing, and if our brand being on their mediums are going to fit. Because if we're talking about commercial real estate to a mom blogger, it's just not going to fit. So that's one thing that we look at. We want to make sure that they have a good following. If it's kind of measly, we want to make sure that we get the best bang for our buck. And we want to make sure that it's something that it's also within our budget too, because sometimes these influencers cost money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that. Actually, we just had that discussion the other day. We could bring in a couple people from like Los Angeles and New York, or we could bring in a lot of people who are local and closer, and those expenses are a lot lower. So that's right. That goes into the equation. I still struggle with trying to figure out, just like PR, I guess. I don't know how we quantify if there was any success. I know that in the past we've done some blogger outreach stuff and got a blog post and stuff, and I'm looking at it as a digital analytics data guy, and I'm like, yeah, this person's got a ton of followers, but she's like a fashion blogger, and her website gets less traffic than my website. No one's looking at it. So I just struggle to figure out. I know it works. Everybody's talking about it. It's got to work. I just gotta, as the guy that has to go send these reports to everybody at the end of the month, I can't figure out how to make that connection.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like that. what is that marketing rule that, you got to see something 7 times before it really sticks. Put it on your website and the fashion blogger's website, because the more eyeballs that get on something, the better.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know. Actually, I think that's a quote from a guy that wrote like 50 years ago, and he actually goes up to the number 40. The 40th time somebody is seeing this, what their view of the brand is. The buy is somewhere in the 20s, but he keeps going with it. It's awesome. It's written in the 50s, and it still makes sense today. So what do you got, Bucky? What are you working on? Any questions for agency people, PR people, anything else?
The biggest thing that I always go back to is like, how the heck, you guys are, I feel like, in such a different league. How the heck do I apply this to small business? Whether I'm a commercial real estate agent, I'm a burger joint, I'm a jewelry maker, like, and I love about these conversations is I try to understand more about what you do. So I don't know if you have any other advice for small businesses. I think that's why I enjoy these conversations.
I guess to me, I mean, if you remember back to what I was doing back in my day, it was all about. I didn't have a dollar to spend. Like almost literally, I had not a dollar to spend. So I was trying to figure out what's the cheapest. Well, I don't like cheap, but what's the most inexpensive way I can get in front of the right people? And what my idea was that I came up with is I don't need to talk to everybody. Like Bucky, you remember better than anybody how divided people were on what I was doing. And that was difficult for me, but at the same time it was proof of concept. A large majority of people hate what I'm doing, so they're all talking about it. The other majority love what I'm doing, so those two majorities are fighting each other. I guess there's two majorities in this case, but but what I was trying to do was just please a very small group of people instead of trying to please everybody. Because I knew that if I came out with a product line that was going to please everybody, at the end of the day, it wasn't really going to please anybody. So I drew a line in the sand from day one, and on the website, I think it even said that. It was like, if you're this person, click here and go here, and it like linked to Affliction or something. If you're not this person, click here and continue onto my website, because what's going to be here is designed for you. So I guess to sum all that up, it's just find something that works for the smallest amount of people that you need it to work for to survive. If you can sell something to 10 people, you can sell it to 100 people. And if you can sell it to 100 people, you can sell it to 1,000 people. So work small before you ever work big.
Mm-hmm. And they can kind of piggyback off that. I think you know more than you think you know, Bucky, because how you kind of touched on how you go out to the community and you've created content that journalists want to see, and you started creating a relationship with the journalists. That's basically PR. You're doing it. So I think the difference between an agency and one person doing it is that we're just doing it constantly, and that's what, and we only focus on the one thing. When you can only be spread so thin, doing all the things. We have each department doing the one thing, hyper focusing on that for a business, and so I think it's possible for a small business to do what we do, just on a very smaller scale. It's taking one step at a time, and try not to drink the whole ocean at once.
And then I think I would come on top of that to say how you can do that as a small business is thanks to the apps on your phone very easily, because I feel like small businesses are always going, I don't have time to even get on my computer. Nope, you can do it all from your phone. And then from there, just start being a practitioner, and that's straight up Gary V language, where on his Instagram story last week, he goes, people are debating Snapchat stories or Instagram stories. Why don't you just do both?
Right.
And he goes, quit bitching. Just do both. And I, at that point, was still boycotting Instagram, like literally, like not talking, just saying I was just going to do photos. So then my next story was like, all right, I'm talking on here because I'm a small business and I can do it on my phone, and it's relatively easy. And what's it going to hurt? It's only going to help unless I do something completely stupid. And so with your phone, you can do so much as a small business. Now you just got to start doing and get after it. And then you become your own PR, you become your own ad agency, your own media company is.
Sure. It's also kind of a mindset that you have to get into, like you have to constantly keep your eye open for new content, like constantly, like, throughout the day. You just always have to have it in the back of your mind, like, oh, I can take my phone out and take a picture of this now. Oh, this is a good thing that my following should see. I mean, and also don't try to be perfect, because you're just not going to be in the beginning. Just do it, and you'll figure it out.
And thanks to the phone, some people would say no thank you, but thanks to the phone, marketing is a lot less perfect than it ever has been. Like, you're seeing stuff more unprofessional than you ever have been. Like, no longer do you need a fancy computer. It's all done on the phone. One thing I would say as well, as far as that content creation, just do it. Snapchat, oops, sorry, my thing went dark. Snapchat has made it very, very easy for me to start creating content. And because of Snapchat and now becoming a practitioner on Snapchat, I'm constantly creating content. I just did it and said on my story of Snapchat, if you want to follow me, Bucky Beeman, my name, I just said quick break for a Google Hangout. That's a piece of content. And then I can take that down from Snapchat and share it on multiple channels. So small businesses, anybody listening, I would say, if you want to start doing this stuff, Snapchat's a good place to start. Now Instagram stories, because they're interfering.
Well, I got a question for Dallas.
Oh, God. Okay, go.
As a digital strategist, is it more difficult for you to do your own social media?
Yes.
Just like as an agency, it's harder for us to do our own PR and etc.
Wait, did you ask me if it's harder to do my own social?
Yes.
Oh, not really, because I think the way that I approach social, it's on a personal level. I'm not trying to, I don't have an agenda. The things I share right now, which isn't as much as I would like to, are things I'm actually reading and actually have an opinion on. So all I do is just take the URL, share it, here's my 2 cents on it, and it's gone. That's it. And then people are saying, oh, I disagree, or I agree, or this is great, or whatever, thanks for sharing. But I don't put a ton of thought into it. I would rather shotgun a bunch of stuff out there, because I don't have to think about my own tone, because it is mine, it's genuine. From then a business perspective, so like you're saying, the James Agency, anything we do internally is all of our worst nightmare, because it goes through all these rounds of routing and proofing and revisions, and it's just it's the name of the game. Like our website, it took, I would say almost a full year to do our website. Client websites, they take 1 to 2 months, maybe 3 if it's a huge site. But our website took forever, because everything it had to be pixel perfect, which is what the industry thing is. It's still not there, but I mean that's what the aim is. So social media, it shouldn't be that hard. It should just be such a simple, thoughtless process. It should just come out naturally. But I think that's because I grew up in this ecosystem. I know what I need to do. I know how to do it, get in and get out, and I'm done with it. Where businesses who are trying to be like, they're trying to enter it, they don't know what to do, and they're way overthinking. Just go. Just get in the flow and let it go.
So arguably, you're using social media for what it's really supposed to be for, and you're just just putting your opinions out there and your thoughts, and not worrying about adding followers or getting the most likes.
It's not as difficult as businesses make it. Like, it stresses me out. My entire most successful business was built on social media, just doing what I wanted to do. I was just having fun. There was never a business objective to anything. I was just doing what I thought was clever and funny, and if you got it, then great, come with me, follow me, you'll get more of that. If you don't get it, then there's a lot of other people to follow, and that's just the way that went down. Yeah, you just got to do it.
That's where I'm at too, Dallas. I love that you say it. Like, my Snapchat stories are so goofy, and like, again, if 75% of the people in commercial real estate had Snapchat and actually watched it, they'd be like, what are you doing? But it's me. If you want to come along and watch the ride and see the market update and watch me put a bunch of filters on and talk really goofy, like, great. If you don't, no problem.
Yeah, I think when businesses start getting into like, oh, with this hashtag have more reach than this hashtag, and what about if we put this content at this time, and maybe move this one to a later date and schedule this out for. And it's like, oh man, like that's just too much effort you're putting into this. Put that effort into somewhere more important for your business. Just let this stuff do what it needs to do. Simple stuff. So, should we start? Let's see where we're at. I have a timer running here. Yeah, we should start wrapping up. We're trying to keep these things semi-short. Bucky, okay, maybe you're better at this. What's the one thing we got to finish with?
I think anything you're seeing in the marketplace in general, like my example, the thing I'll bring up is Google is getting rid of Hangouts Live and going to YouTube Live for the reason, and I haven't read into any of the blogs, but it's to gear more people towards YouTube. But then at the same point, you got Facebook coming in and dropping in the ability to have guests on Facebook Live. Like, Facebook is no force to reckon with. It is crazy, and I'm not laying much content on Facebook. The cool thing is because I'm doing it in other platforms, as soon as I turn it on, it's going to be easier. But I guess this keeps showing me that Facebook has it going on, and it's going to be tough to not market on Facebook if you're a small business.
Yeah, I'll say distribution. So kind of on that same note, my one thing will be distribution. So if you think about what we're doing, like right now, this is a YouTube video we're producing live on YouTube. I'd shared it on my Facebook before we started, so you can click play in Facebook and literally watch it right there. As soon as I post this, it's going to go to my blog. It's going to be its own blog post, which is going to index in Google. People can search for it. It's then going to go up to iTunes and go to Google Play, and it's going to go to TuneIn. So we're making one piece of content in a very simple, free form kind of place, and then it just automatically shoots out to its audiences. So we're reaching all these people in what's native to them instead of trying to say, hey, we have a YouTube show, come watch us on YouTube. It's a lot harder to pull people to you, so we're going to everybody else.
Cool.
All right, Keller, what are you seeing in PR agency life that everybody else needs to see?
I didn't realize there was a one thing here at the end.
Well, we just kind of, yeah, I mean, it's different every time. But
Yeah. Does it have to be PR related?
no, it can be whatever.
All right. Well, I think one of my biggest takeaways from participating in this and from a lot of the, I guess, Gary Vee videos and everything else I've seen is just, stay true to your content because the truth is always going to come out. So, if with your own social media, just do what you need to do, but as long as you do it and as long as you're not offending anyone or being, totally out there, just put out the content and stick to what you know best. Just do it.
Yeah, that was a very PR answer. Don't say anything bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would contradict that one a little bit because I just came across Dollar Shave Club. Like, if you haven't seen this, go check out Dollar Shave Club. That straight up offends some people in the way that they're marketing. But it's allowed them to sell their company for a lot of money, and they did extremely well in a short amount of time. So I not to say I'm one to offend. I'm definitely not that person. But there is room for that in the market now, thanks to the internet.
Yeah, it's funny. This is probably the most I've talked about my clothing company in 4 years, probably. But yeah, man. Now when I look back in hindsight, I pissed a lot of people off, and that's why it worked. So yeah, there was no PR department there.
And maybe it was a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. We're all done. So anybody watching this, you can find it on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, TuneIn, probably Stitcher if they're still in business. I was trying to submit the Stitcher and it wouldn't let me, so I can't tell what they got going on. But we'll figure it out. So thanks for watching, everybody, and you guys for coming on.
And if you have any ideas, we're all about the input. This is not a one-way conversation. We need more guests. We need more people. Thank you for joining in, Keller. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for having me on.
Let's keep the conversation going on social.
Absolutely.
Yeah. See you guys.